Yay. Team white. Let's try knight f3. Might try a King's Indian attack. King's Indian attack. Okay. Let's see. Well, that's the setup, really, that I'm going to go forward with. Let's see how black reacts to it. These moves that I'm playing as white are pretty universal. Kingside fianchetto, you castle. And ensuing moves like d3 and then trying to establish a pawn on e4, often needing, well, it would need additional support. Now, my first thought, just being perfectly honest, my first thought was to play h3 and throw a question to this guy, and it's a candidate move without a doubt. And my other thought is to try and exploit the weakened square b7 because he's not around to watch over it. A typical reaction, or a typical idea with this setup for white is to put pressure on d5. With c5 having already been played, I can rule out that black will have c6 to reinforce d5, of course. So c4 is a candidate move, as well as h3. And I'm looking to just maybe do this right away, or even knight e5. No, let's be most direct. I think this is most direct. I'm not going to play h3. I might want to plant my knight in the center with tempo against the bishop. Maybe that's a reason, in other words, to not go forward with h3. Maybe there's a way to centralize the knight, hit something over here, maybe on d7 or c6, and the bishop on g4. So let's see how black responds to this strike in the center. If black, another thing that has my attention is how many moves black is from castling. They still need how many moves? Quite a bit. 3 moves. I'm already castled, so I'm looking at moves which are going to help advance the pieces that I have deployed already. And by doing that, or how I could do that is to create pawn exchanges. However, I'm liking knight here right now. Right here, right now. Because this bishop has to do what? He's got to go home. I'm pretty sure he's got to go home. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that knight, or yeah, this bishop has to go home. I don't know that you could really allow me to take this bishop. If I'm allowed to take this bishop, I could follow up with e3, strike at the center, and hit the knight. Okay, now the queen is tethered to the defense of the bishop. There's not a way to exploit the queen's position. Maybe I keep this as is. Maybe b5. b5 is something that I'm thinking about. Queen a4 check is another. Actually, I think I like that. Yeah, let me give check. Queen a4 check. I have these two squares covered. You can't go here. Making the king move. That's bad news, however you slice it. I'm also out of this pin. One of my thoughts was to try and get an e3, but I couldn't for as long as my queen's on her home square. How will black defend? You can't throw the knight here. I have 3 pieces guarding. Black only has 2 defending. One of the knights here or the bishop here. Actually, this knight can't go here. It's just dropping this. And this knight goes here, which means that this bishop is now not going to be recaptured with the queen. So, this knight is also pinned. My pawn is being attacked right now. I think I pick up this bishop and then open things up. Pick up the bishop, break at this pawn. Maybe the e file opens up. Maybe I break at this pawn. I like just taking this, and I'm going to challenge this pawn on e. No, I'm gonna challenge this pawn. I might want to go for a gambit right here. Yeah, let's do this. b4 if takes. So this is very Benko gambit like. Okay. And I guess bishop a3. Yeah. Bishop a3. If my opponent captured, I was considering a3, just to open the A and B files, and I'm really trying to do what? I'm really trying to put pressure on b7. I already have the bishop converging on this pawn, and as soon as a rook is played to b, which seems to be a difficult thing to get working, I think this could turn out to be quite good for me. So this knight is not really a problem. I'm not concerned about the pressure it has on h2 and f2. Right now I'm just regarding it as out of play. And do I take? I think I do. This knight is in a pin, and actually, what is it that black would like to be doing? Black would like to be castling, but after bishop takes, queen takes, black is still not in a position to castle because of the pinned knight. In fact, I could be winning this pawn, but you know what? I might not even want to do that. I can win this pawn. The rook plays here. I might want to just advance my development. Yeah, I'm actually seeing me advancing my development as being best. Knight a3, looking at b5, looking at just rook b1. This pawn is in a pin. It really can't go far. Knight b5 to c7 or d6 stuff, coupled with maybe c5, lending a support point on d6. This could be a problem. And maybe there's still going to be tactics against this knight. For example, bishop h3 hits the knight and the one on d7 indirectly. I do have some time to be making up. Let's see about this. Rook a to b1. Okay, this pawn has some... yeah, let's just watch over this. I think let's just go with something here. In fact, now I'm in a spot to double rooks. Rook b5. Just getting all my pieces working and already functioning laterally. So it's not enough once you get to that point in your own chess game where you know to put your rooks on an open file. Well, that next step they look for is what they can do along a rank. And b5 is a good point to be hitting at. In fact, it controls black's, it's in black's territory. It's hitting all 5th rank squares, directly or indirectly. I guess you could say that with any move, really, directly or indirectly, but it's doing a lot from this square. Okay, so the king is uncastled. How do I exploit that? Well, first and foremost, let's get my rook working. I'd like to maybe get on this diagonal. I like to get on the same diagonal as the king. Of course, I could have taken this pawn. That should have been my first thought. But okay, let's see what the queen does. Maybe taking here is better. Let me kick this knight away. Do I give a check? Let me give a check. If the queen blocks, I kick the queen away. I could grab this pawn. Maybe I should do that. But how should I do that? I have 2 different ways to do it. Take with the rook. Maybe that's leading to too many. Okay, now this rook is not going to be around to help out, is he? No, he's not. I think I want to take with the bishop. Let me take with the bishop. And when my bishop retreats, I'm taking with the bishop. I think for a couple of reasons, but the one that's I'm able to verbalize right now is so that when I retreat, I almost said retweet again. When I retreat, if rook takes rook, I capture with the pawn, and then I have c4 available. Well, my opponent is coming at me right now. Let me put pressure on this knight. Deter that h4 move. Actually, no, forget about the pawn. I want to be even more direct. I'll take with the knight. Rook takes rook, I take with the knight. Okay, we're not having that, but that knight is... that knight has some problem. This rook has to go somewhere else. Pawn push is coming up. My knight's going to be jumping into d6 very soon by way of c4. And this is going to be game over. My bishop's hit. I think I could just take the knight, even opening up the h5. I don't think that's going to be an issue, although no. No reason to even react just yet. I'm hitting the queen with the pawn. I'll just take, and now there's no way to defend this. I can always, another thing, I could always defend if the queen, if you could envision the queen on one of these 3, I could always play h4. But in this case right here, the pieces are just coming off. And hang on. That was almost a bad decision right there by me. To go after that rook right there would not have been a good thing, because that pawn ends up promoting. My knight's not even there to defend. And then we are just in the mopping up phase. Tricky knights, picking up everything. Watch out for stalemate. It's my last concern. No stalemates. Right here and here no matter what. Just get the rooks off. No stalemate. Here no matter what. Here no matter what. No time. Okay. Good game. Let me flip this board and let's go back and see how either one of us could have improved. Let's see. Well, I think the bulk of this, what I'm about to say, is really the things that I've already said during the game. You have to be very cautious about the early deployment of this light square bishop. And the weakening, regard c5 as weakening d5. No, actually you could view it as just weakening the light square diagonal. You don't have c6 anymore to reinforce d5, and if d5 is broken at, if you cannot maintain control over d5, then you lose the right to really control c6. There's a domino effect. You don't control c6 so easily, b7, and that really turned out to be a big target. These light squares in this section of the board, in this quadrant, the queen side. The queen coming out, the pressure on b7 with first the bishop, later with the rook. It became too much to bear. So what am I getting at? Maybe, I mean, I'm not saying that this is wrong, but I think playing the bishop g4 is maybe a step in the wrong direction. Maybe something like knight c6 is going to be better. Not yet declaring your bishop's intentions. Maybe knight c6 is going to be a better option right here. Then at least, you know, you're not having to deal with knight e5 with tempo. That's eventually what ends up happening, isn't it? Right here, I get here with tempo, but if your knight is on c6, not the case. So at least have this knight on c6. If you really are going to go forward with this, make sure your knight is on c6 and I don't have this knight e5 tempo on your bishop. And as soon as I had that light square bishop, things became much simpler for me. This knight is out of play. Unless there's something on these two, and there's not, he's just out of play. And I'm looking to open up, I'm looking to target b7 with the rook, and it becomes difficult to defend. b5, you're trying to get your development in, I'm getting my development in, and now you're tied down. You want to be able to castle, but you're having difficulty with this, and b7 is just too much to deal with. So that's my main suggestion, really out of the gates, and the deployment of the pieces and the move order in which you play them, instead of, again, bishop g4, consider the knights before the knight, going with the knight before the bishop, knight c6. And then maybe you even want to do e3. Maybe bringing the bishop out is something you don't want to do. Something more calm, like making sure you can get your king castle quickly with e6 to reinforce this pawn, bishop e7 castle, but probably knight c6 right here. Okay.